This month, we're going to use the strip piecing method to make strip sets. This is a quick and simple way to get a checkered look without having to cut out every individual square piece. In this month's pattern, we're going to cut 3 long strips for strip set 1 and 3 shorter strips for strip set 2. The checkered effect will happen by sewing together alternating strips of fabric. The background fabric is just in the middle on strip set 1, but will be on the outside on strip set 2. Go ahead and sew the strips together by joining together the lengthier side of each strip. Once you've sewn the strip sets together, pressing is going to be important in maintaining the straightness and integrity of the strips. First, set the seams by pressing the seams closed. Just a quick press to do. And while I do that, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that there are many different preferences when it comes to pressing and seam directions. If you feel strongly about pressing a certain way, then by all means do what works for you. But if this is entirely new for you, let me share what works for me, and please consider it just one option amongst many other possible options. Then when you go to press the seams, you can choose to press the seams open, as I'm showing you, or you can consistently press towards the darker fabric. I personally prefer pressing to the same color fabric because in doing so I find it easy to nest the seams later on when I sew the strip sets together. When I start pressing, I typically like to open, guide, and fold the fabric with my fingers first, and then mainly use the iron to press down onto the seams from above. In other words, I try not to move the iron side to side across the seams too much. Since the background fabric in this strip set is on the outside, I'm going to press it to the outside, but again press it with my fingers first and then go with the iron. Just press down onto the fabric with the iron as if landing from above without using too much side-to-side motion across the seams. And here are my 2 strip sets. Here's strip set 1 and strip set 2. Once you've pressed the strip sets, it's time to make vertical cuts. I intentionally made the length of the strip sets a little longer than needed to allow room for error, meaning that if you are left with a little scrappy strip set, that is okay. When you go to make a vertical cut, look for a horizontal seam that you can use to line up with a horizontal line with your ruler. I will go ahead and trim this edge before making my first cut. The pattern says to make 8 vertical cuts that are 1.5 inches wide. That means I will need to look for the 1.5 inch mark on my ruler, and once I do that, I will check to make sure that the seams line up with one of the horizontal lines on my ruler. Here I cut out 8 pieces and have a little bit of extra, which is to be expected. Now I'm going to cut 4 pieces from this strip set. Again, just line up the sides and make sure that the horizontal seams run parallel under the horizontal line of the ruler. Now it's time to sew these strips in alternating fashion. Strip piece 1, strip piece 2, and strip piece 1. They will get us to make this checkered effect. When you place the pieces right sides together to sew, you will notice that if you consistently press towards the darker fabric, the seams will nest and will help you make nice corners and points. Here's the back side of one of these 4 sets, which will look something like this if you consistently press towards the same fabric and nested the seams. When I go to press this time though, I will personally prefer to press these new seams open to help keep the fabric and quilt top from getting bulky. It's a little tricky for my fingers to do this at the moment, but here I'm working to gently open these new seams with my fingers before running along the seam with the iron. It might feel a little slow doing it this way, so if you have a different pressing preference, then by all means go with that. Once you've pressed these units, you will have made a checkered unit to incorporate into this month's block.